guys, thanks for tuning in. This is optibotimus coming to you with another video review. And today, thanks to the folks at ThreeZero, we're going to be taking a look at their 1/6 scale leader of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, none other than Leonardo. As you can see for the package, very similar to what we've gotten with all of them so far. You got a really cool image of Leo here in the front with his name, and then you got the blue kind of background. You come around here to the side, you got that same kind of blue background with, you know, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle text right there. Same thing on this side. And then we're going to angle up just a little, not that way, we're going up, not down, Paul. And then you can see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the movie, and then on the side here you have his Katanas with his blue bandana. On the opposite side you got his Katanas and then a blue square on the back of it. You got his name, and then also as you come down you can see it says Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well, with that same blue background and everything like that. On the underside here you have various warnings, where it was made, how to contact ThreeZero, Nickelodeon Movies, Platinum Dunes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Movies.com, all that kind of contact information. And then on the top here you got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle logo as well. So again, packaging wise, very similar to what we've gotten before. It hasn't really changed other than the coloring, you know, the name, obviously the character that it's got in the package. On the inside, it is protected by that same plastic clamshell. So basically, once you've seen one of the boxes for the Ninja Turtle figures, you've seen them all. But still really nice nonetheless. With that being said, that's it for the packaging. So without further ado, let's get this guy out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have Leonardo open up and out of its packaging. And honestly, if I've said it once throughout all these Ninja Turtle reviews, I've said it countless times. The amount of detail that's in these are absolutely incredible. And as you can see, posability wise, you can get some really cool looks going for these guys. Now, for his accessories, in addition to obviously his katanas, which I'll take a look at here in a little bit, you get a total of 3 pairs of hands. You get 2 that are currently on him that are a little bit more open, obviously, to hold his katanas. And then you get a right and left, more open one that really doesn't hold his katanas all that well. They're just kind of relaxed kind of hands. But one thing that's cool is you can see that his left hand actually is designed with this different kind of the back of the hand guard, whereas this one has these 2 little dots. These ones do not, which is unique. I like that asymmetrical kind of look. But again, like all the other ones, you got the wraps going around the hand, which is actual real material. I mean, it's not just sculpted in there. It gives a very realistic look to it. Absolutely terrific. The amount of detail and paint variation in the skin tone, as well as the sculpting, all very, very nice. And then you do get a right and left fisted hand. Again, you got that same strapping around the hand. And then again, like back of the hand guards are different as well. As I said, he does come with his katanas. They do fit in here fairly nicely. Getting these out here, I'm gonna ruin his pose just so I can get him kind of standing there so we can get a full kind of look at him. But the articulation on here really is quite spectacular. Now, unfortunately, Leo does have a couple of quality control issues, which does make him a little bit more difficult to kind of manipulate in terms of some poses, but I'll touch on that here in a sec. But for his katanas, you can see really nice detail on here. One is longer than the other. You can see they are both different swords, as a matter of fact. I mean, obviously, you got this nice silver paint on here. Handle-wise, though, you can see that the one on the left here is a longer handle, and then you can also see the strapping is done a little bit differently. And then the hilt itself, or I should say, like the hand guard right here, is also different. You can see this is a little bit more of a narrow bit. This is a little bit more rounded, which just makes sense. I mean, everything that the Turtles have are kind of thrown together, so they necessarily wouldn't have the exact same weapons, which is cool. I really do like that slight difference. You come around here to the back of him, and you can see that for him, he does have his actual sheaths. You got some real great detail on him. Again, both of them are different, but you can see some like Japanese dragon work and stuff on here, some details sculpted in here as well. And then you just take these guys, and honestly, I'm not sure which one goes where. Maybe this one goes in here, or is that too? No, that one's too short, so I'm guessing there. And then you take this guy, and that fits right there. And again, it's really cool that they actually include that. That's something that, you know, for Leo is a very iconic kind of look for him. I mean, he always has his swords with him. He's always ready. And it makes sense that he would have, you know, that storage option there. But again, coming in to take a closer look at the details, you can see that he does have a really bright green head here, and then the mouse section here does get a little bit darker in terms of the coloring. That does throw me off a little. It's not really as bad in person, but you really can notice it. And I don't necessarily think it's that pronounced in the actual film. It might be. Like I said, a lot of what we saw was very dark, so it's kind of hard to tell. You can see, I guess, extra accessory wise, he's got a little necklace around there that if you took his head off, you can remove that. You got his bamboo shoots here for his arm guard or armor. Now in the new movie, this has been removed on him. He doesn't wear this anymore, and I actually kind of like that look a little bit more than what we have here. The detail on these it's absolutely terrific. I mean, it's very accurate, and honestly, it does very nicely look, and I'm just kind of spreading that out to kind of give it a little bit more of an accurate kind of representation, because they were a little bit more spread, but it definitely recreates how he looked in the original film. But I think I like that second movie look a little bit more. I love how he's got a little button right here that says NYC. The little strap right here is kind of duct taped together. You come around here to the back, and you can see that it comes up here to the straps. This one is a little bit more loose, which, I mean, it's not falling off or anything. I think it's meant to be like this, but the bottom one here is really solid on there. But these straps just kind of just sit here for it, so they don't really actually attach to anything on the back here. But again, you can see great, amazing amount of detail and the shell work, all the sculpting, the various paints and the different details that are thrown in. They're just absolutely exquisite all the way through around. I mean, even when you come around to the inside here, you can kind of see on the inside that there's some real great detail. It's a little bit harder to see because of the lighting, but even on the inside of the shell, it looks really very, very good. Again, you got these little shoulder pads right here, which are just on like little springy sections. I'm trying to see. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just like a little fabric piece that kind of attaches it. So those just kind of hang out there. Again, you got the real amazing detail in the torso. The arms in the torso do have that rubberized material, much like all the other ones did. So the same kind of design is going on here. Great blue eyes. And then like the other ones, the sculpting for the bandana is really great here. It is just part of the sculpt on the head, and then you do have the cloth material here on the back. So much like the other ones, all that kind of stuff is essentially the same. Coming back here and coming down, again, great detail throughout the entire actual outfit of this guy. You can see layers and layers of different clothing and things like that. Down here for his legs, he's got these little just stitched on pads and such, cloth wise here as well. You got some actual padding here on his thighs. You got that kind of on this one as well, but again, just kind of thrown together. You got those straps that are like up here on his hands and his wrist. You can see that what he did for this forearm guard is just basically wrap this strap around there. So again, just thrown together. Great detail. You got some nice strapping down here, and then again, I love how they got these kind of shoes where it's like they took two different shoes and just stitched them together, and you can even see the stitch work that's put in there. I mean, absolutely terrific. You got the laces on that side. You got a whole separate section right here. So these shoes, because their feet are larger than a normal person's foot would be, are just, again, thrown together and held together by just stitching. So, I mean, absolutely terrific. You come around here, you can see some leather kind of torn up and with holes and stuff here on the back of them. Just stellar detail. And again, sculpting wise on the actual skin for the turtles looks absolutely terrific. I could not be happier. Now, like I was talking about, quality control wise, there is some problems with Leo. I haven't had this on any of the other figures, but articulation wise, you can see that his ball joint really comes off very easily on here. It's almost as if they're a little bit too big or too small. You can see just how big this hole is compared to this one. So getting this on there is really hard to do, and these ones come off a little bit easier than I would actually like. It's not bad. I mean, if you're careful when you're rotating it, it's okay, but you do have to be very careful with it. And one thing that I have discovered is that the actual rubber arm here is kind of like a separate piece, as I've kept talking about, but you can't actually slide this off. So when you do it, you can bring this down and you can see the exposed, that plastic piece underneath it. So if you're having a hard time with it, and then you can see that that makes that actual ball section kind of sink in. So you do kind of have to shift this up to kind of keep that rubber section on there so that that ball section is where it's supposed to be, and then you just put that on there just like that. So it's not bad, but it definitely is not as secure of a latching kind of thing like the other turtles are. So that is definitely one minor thing that is at least present on mine. Now for his articulation, much like all the other ones, the head is on a massive ball joint, so you get a nice range of motion. The actual neck section here does also flex, so you do have a joint at the bottom, and then you have a ball section here at the top, so lots of range of motion there. The shoulders move in and out just like so. They rotate forward and back. It does get a little bit more limited when you want to go backward because the shell's kind of in the way. He does rotate. He's got a bit of an armpit joint right up in there, and then the bicep does also rotate, so when you're moving it around you can kind of position that, but because the sculpting on the outer skin is just all one piece, it limits some of that rotation right there. You do get two joints here at the actual elbow, but again, when you bend it up, you do get those kind of folds in the actual rubber material. It's not really all that bad, and I do feel that the material it can stand up to the test of time for that. We will see, but I do feel that the thickness of this really does give a more durable sort of feel to it. Torso wise, he does have that ball joint at the torso, so you can rotate that around, you can flex it forward and back. Again, I really do appreciate that the shells don't hinder any of that articulation. That's really very cool, and also very important. I mean, a lot of figures really don't have that, but this does. In terms of other turtle figures, he moves forward and back here at the hips, moves in and out, rotates at the upper part of the thigh. He's got one joint here at the knee, and then the ankles are on really nice ball joints, so you can tilt those side to side. You can move them forward and back. So like you could see in the beginning, you can get some great poses with this guy, and I think all in all, he looks terrific. He's probably not my favorite looking, but if you're gonna have one of them, you gotta have the leader of them. Now, for some size comparisons, let's set him all the way in the back here, just so that we can kind of see how big he stacks with the four of his, or I should say three of his brothers. Let's get him standing there. And while this is kind of staggered, you can see that size-wise, these guys work really very nicely. Now again, Donnie is probably the tallest and Mikey is probably the smallest. Leo kind of fits around the height of, say, Raphael. So moving Donnie and Mikey out of the way, well, I mean, Mikey and Donnie, I did that reverse. Here he is next to Raph, and as you can see, he actually comes in at about 13 inches or so in height, whereas Raph here was a little bit over 13. Compared to all the other turtles, Leo here is probably the third tallest, which for size works pretty good for me. Now, like I've said time and time again when looking at these figures, I love the way that they look. The amount of layers of detail that are put into these really does blow me away. The sculpting, the paint, everything just really came together very nicely on these. And one thing that I'm absolutely thrilled about is that ThreeZero has recently revealed that they are making a Bebop and Rocksteady figure, which I am super excited about. And that same amount of detail looks like it's in those figures that they put into these. Now, I do kind of prefer the look that they have in the second movie. It's a little less busy, you know, in terms of things that they're wearing, but that's not a problem with ThreeZero. I mean, they did an absolutely amazing job recreating these guys. So I'm hoping that maybe they'll do a second movie version of them. I don't think it would really be that hard. You don't have to change really too much other than, you know, the outfits on them. Unfortunately, like I said, with Leo here, there is a small quality control issue with, you know, the ball section for the wrist, but it's really not that bad. It's something that I can, you know, work around when I'm posing them. And as you can see, they don't just fall off. One thing that I would say that I would like to see in a future release is maybe some kind of a display stand. In setting these figures up in my detail shelves, you know, they stand there perfectly fine, but living here in California, I am unfortunately faced with the reality that earthquakes happen. And having a display stand would be a nice kind of thing. That's just something that I've thought about because it's relevant to where I'm at. So I don't necessarily think that it's something that all collectors would want, but I think it would be a nice thing that ThreeZero could include in the future. Beyond that though, these figures really are terrific. They came out great looking, and I could not recommend these guys enough to you. Like I said, Leo's probably not my favorite. If I were to only pick one to get, I would probably pick Mikey. Now me personally, I would probably pick Donnie, but I think that Mikey is one that I think a lot of people would really like having just by himself. So if you can only get one, that's a good one to start with. You know, or maybe your personal favorite. If your personal favorite is Leo, you're perfectly okay picking up just this guy. But it's got to be said that all four of them look great together. So if you're interested in picking up this guy or all four of the figures, they are available at Sideshow Collectibles. So all you have to do is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to Sideshow where you can check out availability on this as well as the rest of their 1/6 scale figures. I'd once again like to send a huge thanks to ThreeZero, specifically Cody, for helping to make this review possible. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus. And don't forget that if you like this review, to please like and share it. Also, be sure to subscribe in case you haven't already subscribed. That way you never miss a future review of mine. And as always, until next time, I'll talk to you later.